A bill proposed by the New York City Council would raise the pay of city officials, including Mayor-elect Zohran Mamdani, by 16%. Apparently, there's no affordability crisis for him. Joining me now is Mehek Cooke, attorney and American Frontier Strategies CEO, and Catalina Lauf, former Trump special advisor and Florida congressional candidate. Mehek, first to you, the Mamdani's salary would jump from $258,000, which is not so bad, to over $300,000 a year, and he hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything at all. I mean, it kind of reminds me of President Obama getting a Nobel Peace Prize before he'd actually had a real day in the office. I mean, it's the same kind of thing. I just don't get it. Do you? And it doesn't look very good for a socialist.
Well, David, I mean, I think this is funny because we don't expect much from somebody like Mamdani. The fact that the work hasn't been done, but he's already ready to collect a paycheck just tells you that this screams socialism. This is exactly who he is. He is somebody who has lived off of his mother, never had a job, doesn't know how economics works. I'm going to start calling him Mamdani because that's all he's done, live off of his mother. But here's the truth, David. In 2016 and 2022, New York Council actually had increases, but guess what? Affordability didn't come down. We didn't see crime decrease. So all you're seeing is a cycle of rewarding the political class and elites, but at the backs of the American people. And New Yorkers are going to see right through this because the only way to get affordability is to get rid of this whole rent-free, free buses and this socialism where they're going to continue to give handouts to people and let them work and earn their hard-earned money. And Mamdani's going to get a rude awakening. That's why he saw President Trump. His hand was out because he is going to need D.C. funds.
Well, it was an interesting moment, that sort of truce, Catalina, between Mamdani and Trump. Of course, both sides had their own strategy about how they were dealing with things, but the question is how he handles the job, in particular law and order. If crime picks up as a result of some of what he wants to do, everything else is going to go down, and his future goes down as a political leader. Is Donald Trump going to give a hand out to Mamdani, despite the fact that he's a socialist? Because Trump does love New York. He doesn't want New York to go down the toilet.
You know, first and foremost, President Trump absolutely loves the people of this country, no matter where they live. New York obviously has a special place in President Trump's heart. He's from there. And I think ultimately he wants what's best for the people. And so I hope for the future of New York and the people that, you know, they are able to come together on critical issues. But at the same time, you know, New Yorkers are fleeing for districts like ours in Florida.
Yeah.
Now, I'm running to represent Southwest Florida, and I'm hearing this all the time, especially after Mamdani's election. And this is an example, you know, to your point about raising their salaries. You know, this is exactly what socialists do. They campaign on a utopia message when in reality, it's not for the people at all. Their ideology fundamentally is against the people. And so unfortunately, the people lose. And to quote, you know, F.A. Hayek, it leads them on a road to serfdom in all aspects, whether it's political, economic, or individual freedom. And unfortunately, this is what you're going to see with this New York mayor. And again, President Trump, as he's done with so many other liberal cities and leadership, is going to have to come in and help the people. And I know he's committed to do that no matter what.
You bring up a great point, because socialism is all the examples of socialism you've seen really knock down the value of the currency, the value of the economy itself, and of course, if it goes into the area of pure communism, where you have a one-party state, where it's not just the democratic socialism, you end up with all kinds of human rights being violated. But the self-interest of those at the top, that few at the top, maybe 1% up to 2% at the top who do extremely well at the expense of all the others, is what a lot of these socialist leaders are looking towards. They want to be that cream at the very tippy top of the pile, Mehek, which is a pile of garbage after they've been through with it.
You're right, David. And look, we've talked about socialism before. It leads to breadlines, but most of the American people, especially younger Americans, don't know that. So it's incumbent upon us to make capitalism great again, to make housing affordable again. And the Republican Party is actually steering this ship. So we have an opportunity to come up with solutions that actually work for the American people. What about having a housing savings account, just like a healthcare savings account for first-time home buyers? Think of the millions of Americans that could start saving and building equity tax-free. How about governors coming out in every single state and saying zero income tax? In the state of Ohio, where I live, we're Republican today, but I have spent decades in this state with nobody actually pushing for zero income tax. Cap property taxes, and the H-1B crisis can stop immediately. Instead of $100,000 for foreigners, invest the $100,000 here. Corporations would see Americans working back to work, and they could get tax breaks that way. There's so many things we could do to drive American capitalism, but it starts here with leadership. And David, we need more and strong leaders.
I want to give you the last word because very quickly, you have family who are immigrants from Latin America. The president has lost a lot of support from Latin American voters. About 34% have switched their views on him, partly because of the media propaganda that everything is going bad with the situation, the deportations. But how does he get some of that back? You only got about 20 seconds to address this.
I don't believe he has lost the Hispanic voter. Families like mine are incredibly impressed with what President Trump and this administration are doing, especially when it comes to the economy, law and order, border security. Families like mine and legal immigrants are really proud of this president's accomplishments in those areas. So I think those polls are completely wrong. And I think you'll see a huge turnout in the midterms for Republican leadership.
Catalina, thank you so much for being here. Mehek, great to see you again. Appreciate you coming in. Have a great Thanksgiving holiday. Coming up.